where it says live. Okay, we are. All right, y'all. Hey, what's up, audience? We're going live early. We thought maybe we just give you guys a few extra minutes with this phenomenal group. This is a double header tonight. We're talking about the law of attraction, and our series has been "Am I Worthy of Her Submission?" And so we're doing a series finale tonight. We'll go 2 hours, double header. We got a bunch of great gentlemen here for this first hour who are going to set the stage, pace, and who are really create a great atmosphere for the next group that's coming in. So, gentlemen, if you all would just push share on Facebook pages, we want as many people to be locked in for the next hour as possible. I won't even do any quick bios, and we won't do none of that because we want to go right into the topic for tonight. These gentlemen, I know personally, all of them have great experience, whether they're married or whether they're dating, great experience in relationships. I've sat with each of them and have learned about some of their challenges, some of the lessons they've learned in relationships. We've all been part of those experiences for many years, and tonight we really just want to shed some light on this topic. And Eric came up with it a couple of weeks ago, the law of attraction. We spend so much time talking about how to prepare for a relationship. We don't spend enough time talking about are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? I know that just sounds crazy. I'm gonna put it on the screen really quick, but really, the law of attraction. Are you attracting exactly what it is that you desire? And the reason we know that that's not happening in large numbers is because we get a lot of emails and text messages, DMs all week, every time we do the show about I'm this as a woman. I got 6 figures. I got my own house. I got my own car. I got a great background, great experience. But how come I can't find the man I'm looking for? Is it a shortage of men? And so tonight, with our mental health therapist, psychotherapist, Eric Murphy's going to really help frame some of our conversation tonight because he really does deal with that law of attraction. So the first question I want to just throw out there, just for the gentleman, is the question I just really posed. That's the theme for tonight. And is the person, and this is for the ladies, is the person whom I am seeking someone like me? So the person who you desire, or do they also desire you? And so what we're going to do for tonight through the lens of men with different experiences and backgrounds is talk about the type of person that we've heard, the type of women that we've heard are desirous of certain relationships. Tonight, lay it out, lay it bare. I want to hear from y'all. The women that have come to you and have been desirous of a specific tailor fit laundry list type of dude, do you feel as if those women should receive, should be blessed with, should be in relationship with the type of guy they've mentioned to you that they desire? Yes, no, and then I want you to share some commentary behind your answer. So we just jump out there. Joel, I'm gonna start with you, man, because you're in the great state of Florida, brother. And a lot of beautiful things happen in Miami. So we're gonna start off with you, brother, and then I just want everybody just to chime in right after that.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Oh, good.
Hey.
I live in Miami, Florida. In a city with a lot of beautiful women, of course. But before I get to my point, one thing that I learned out here is just self-discipline, man. Because to be honest with you, you can easily get caught up in these gorgeous women that walk around the city. But for the most part, when it comes to women seeking somebody like myself, I feel like it depends on the season that the woman is in, right? A lot of times women claim that they want a high value man. A lot of them don't bring less to the table as a person, if that makes sense, right? So a lot of women lack the submission, right? They feel like they can, be up one over a man. You know what I mean? A lot of women, especially what I've encountered, right? Argumentative, lack of submission. But they seem to think that because of their credentials that they're high value type women and they feel like they deserve those high value men. But it's like they lack that feminine side to them that a lot of these high value men seek for. So that's my stance on this particular question. You know, and most importantly, especially a city like this, a lot of women seek those, you know, the fast money, right? You know, the sugar daddies. You know, just it's a lot of fast life. It's all facade. You know, so it's actually pretty difficult to find a high value type women in this particular city.
Joe, I'm glad you mentioned the geographical location because many of us do visit Miami for vacation. You live there, and so I think you're able to see, you know, firsthand just the type of women who live in the city and also the kind of relationships that they desire. You mentioned, and I want some others to chime in. You mentioned that these women desire a kind of relationship that they don't necessarily provide the same level, right, of attention or attraction. What were you referring to, just so that we're clear? Were you referring to like the money made, the careers? What were you referring to?
That's a great question. I feel like out here, they rather have the money made. I don't think it's necessarily the career. Like, see, I'm from the Washington, D.C. area, Silver Spring, Maryland. A lot of those women seek men with careers and titles. In Miami, it's all about fast money, who has a nice car, or who's the athlete, or who's the entertainer. Those are the type of men that they seek down here. So it's a whole different level in what women seek for, right? From what I'm seeing here.
Just a point of clarification, Dr. J. When we talk about the type of man that women are seeking, we're talking about seeking for the purpose of a long-term committed relationship, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not
up
talking
to and
about,
including marriage and monogamy.
Yeah, no flings, no one-night stands.
Right.
You know, we're not talking about that. We're talking about women who are desirous of a long-term relationship, fruitful relationship that will lead to marriage at some point.
Right.
So I heard you say something, Dr. J, or a minute ago. And what I heard was kind of like what we used to say back in the day, like having a hoop dream. You know what I'm saying? Like those cats that we all knew back in the day that was trying to say they was going to go to the league, they didn't put in the work to go to the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's like no different in this situation in a sense, because it's like you're talking about women that are saying they want this type of man and they deserve this type of man, but are they actually putting in the work, or are they holding themselves accountable to being the type of woman they should be to attract that type of man in their life? You know what I'm saying? So it's like my man down there in Miami, it's like they looking at titles too, like they do in DC, just different titles. You know, are you starting for the Dolphins? You know what I'm saying? Like
and
right there.
And I'm glad that you brought this up, because I myself, you know, played football overseas, played football in college, played football in high school too. What I noticed was when I would tell women I'm an educator out here, which I am right now, I'm a teacher, middle school teacher. A lot of them were they're not as excited as if I would tell a woman in DC or Maryland, hey, I'm a middle school teacher. A lot of them are like, oh my God, that's so nice. But down here, it's like, oh, okay, that's nice. How the kids, you know? But if I were to tell them, hey, you know, I'm trying out for the Dolphins, or I'm working out with this NFL team, then it was a different type of behavior, different type of reaction, right? And you know, I'm 230 pounds, so a lot of women assume that I play for the Dolphins. So that's the advantage I have down here.
Yeah, Billy, you alluded to something. I want you to kind of go back into it, and then we'll do a round robin. Billy, you were talking about, you know, when women are desirous of a certain thing and they don't bring the thing that they desire to the table. I'm curious, Billy, because you do a lot of the discussions on your Facebook page.
Right.
I'm curious, why is it that women, the ones you've spoken to, have desire something from a man that they don't desire from themselves? That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it's just it's kind of like I said from the hoop dream standpoint. You know, I mean, you got these folks that are seeing what they see on TV. They're seeing other people that have it, and they don't have it for themselves, and so they start telling themselves, "I deserve that because I see y'all have it." It's not that I put myself or position myself to be a woman to attract that. It's more so like, well, you know, I see them married and they looking good and everything like that, and he pays for everything. And he takes care of it. Like it's more so a comparison game at that point in time. And once you get in that comparison game, you put yourself in the hole, because Because then you approach a man like, say like me, for instance, or something like that, and you're trying to tell me how a man is supposed to act, and you've already killed yourself right there in the water. Because all these expectations of like what a man is supposed to do and how a man is supposed to posture themselves start coming from her mouth rather than my mouth, and you haven't really even talked to me, or you don't even really know me like that.
Yeah, that you mentioned, make a good point, Billy. Social media, I think, is probably a huge downfall to some of the desires that probably some of these folks have in relationships. They see somebody else. It's coveting, right? In Pastor Stable, that's your lane. It's coveting. They see something that somebody else has, and they desire it because somebody else has it, regardless if they can also too bring that to the table. It don't matter. Other comments, other thoughts.
If I can throw something out there real quick, and the statement is the person whom I'm seeking someone like me. Why is she seeking anything in the first place? Why is she seeking anything in the first place? And then on the other side, I've never been attracted to anybody who sought after me.
That's a good point.
Because if you chase after me, you running after me, you seeking after me, that means you probably want to be the dominant one at the end of the day.
Wow.
I don't run my house like that.
Let's roll it back. Let's roll it back. Roll it back to the path y'all went down. You started to describe the women in your cities and the type of women you were dealing with and what they were looking for. And just like Dr. Staples just reread the question, it made me reread the question too, because as he said, to reread it again, it says, is the person I'm seeking someone like me? The women you guys described, it makes you wonder if they really want somebody like them, because if they're gold diggers, if these people have nefarious, goals in the first place, they don't have necessarily really high moral character, it seems to me, if they're just looking at not substance, not character, but flash and money and what you can do for me, or the image you project, how many Instagram followers you have, that type of thing. If that's what they're looking for, do you really want somebody like that? Because if you're not living up to that standard yourself, or even if you are, that's not the basis on which a real successful relationship is founded, right? So it makes me ask the question of any woman who's in a search for a mate, a partner or whatever. First, know who you are, know what your values are, because the question really is,
Does volume go up?
He muted himself.
Did I lose my audio?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
I did. I'm sorry. If I laid my note-taking device on top of the mouse, the rat. But what I'm saying is, the question is anybody desiring of you? What are you bringing to the table, right? Mm-hmm. That's the real thrust of the question. Come on, Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say something. I was thinking about this, and it reminds me of a couple different. First of all, what's up, Joel and Billy? Man, nice to meet you guys. And Chaz, your wife was an amazing person on the show.
Thank you.
A lot better than you.
Yeah, but I was thinking about something we were talking about here, and I was thinking I was going to do this tonight, and I kept thinking I'm just going to make sure I break down stuff in a way that's like, so. It reminds me of something that the Buddha said, and it says, most of our troubles are due to our passionate desire for an attachment to things that we misapprehend as entitled, enduring entitlements, right? So a lot of times what I'm saying here is, a lot of times when we start thinking about who am I seeking, and am I seeking someone are they seeking, I forget how the question is now, you got to put it back on there for me. But I think what happens a lot of times, what we're really trying to seek a lot of times is escape. It is about the codependent relationship and about the escape of materialism. And we get caught up in, it's important to distinguish between sense pleasure and sense desire. There's nothing wrong with sense pleasure. Pleasure and pain are part of human experience. Sense desire, on the other hand, is a grasping for pleasure to avoid pain. and this creates a suffering, grasping, and avoiding kind of thing. So the key is we got to ask ourselves: am I really trying to seek something that's of substance, or am I just looking for a want? Because the biggest thing is we start, and Dr. Staples has said this many times. We can confuse between what I want and what I actually need. I need to breathe. I need to actualize. I need to know that I'm safe. And if I choose somebody that's surface, the Fendi that she got on could be fake, and I know she bought it at the store where it only cost her a couple bucks, so I know it ain't real know-how. So how can I feel safe with that? So she the Fendi. It's about looking good, but it's not the substance. I think it comes down to you wanting to find substance in a relationship. I got your candy coated and be like, you can get caught up with these people who are material, but in the bigger picture, you got to ask yourself, what does love feel like, and what stability feel like, and what do I want that? Because you might want the drama. You might be seeking the drama. You might want to solve the mystery. You might want to solve the crime thing, because you're not trying to be in a committed relationship. You're trying to play into the drama.
People seek the drama because that's what they're familiar with.
Right on. Right, bro. Like you said, right there, that's the pathology, right?
Yeah.
It's the journey. And we said this earlier. It's the fatal final goal. What do you think your relationship, if you've been told my relationships ain't shit, if you start thinking, well, relationships ain't gonna be nothing, they're gonna be surface, blah, 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 and you've been told that, your mama told you that, your daddy told you that, that's what you end up thinking a lot of times. Or you say, I'm gonna avoid that completely, and you go full circle back to that.
Yeah, because the environment has coached them to desire oftentimes the wrong thing. Because I've been around drama and trauma my entire life. Now I am attracted to that drama and that trauma, and my energy, which we're about to go into next, my energy is bringing that thing to me, which what I put out.
Yeah, you can't run from your energy, man. Your energy is the first thing that shows up before you do.
Right.
Hey, entertainment though, Lamar, keep it 100 though. If you find somebody that's surfacey, they're gonna put it on you.
Yeah.
It's performance oriented. It's beautiful. It look like Fendi. It feel real good. I can escape in this, but I ain't living.
See. Boy, this is about to get real good tonight.
I was looking at my watch. It was 20 minutes. We're getting deep in already. 20 minutes.
You're right, though. You're right. Like the performative act, though, Murph. The performative act, I think, catches brothers all the time. You know what I'm saying? Those first 3 months, it feels like euphoria. It feels like heaven on earth.
Say euphoria.
You know what I'm saying? Like you confused. Like you done had some of that lean. You know what I mean? Like you like real confused. But you're right, because it's so performative. But when you get past that honeymoon performative stage, you realize like, oh, what did I get myself into? A lot of times.
Man, you touched upon a really good point, man. And back in 2019, I was in a long distance relationship, which I would never do again, right? And the first 2-3 months, man, it was amazing, right? But throughout the relationship, you really see who they truly are. Like, man, I'm really dealing with this shit. You know what I'm saying? You're thinking like she's perfect at first sight, and then later on you start to see how she operates, and the arguments and the aggravations start to escalate, and you just like, man, this is not worth it. You know what I mean? So, Jason, when you said euphoria, that was like you hit on the nail right there.
Hey Joel, but I want to tell you, man, it is euphoria, but it's the body on hormones.
Yeah.
Oxytocin, dopamine, cortisol, a little cortisol in there. You got to throw a little cortisol in there for a little excitement, a little party. It's adrenaline. But what happens is after 3, 6 to 9 months, those hormonal levels start to decrease. So it's not really that. So love and infatuation feels the same way as your body reacts to cocaine.
Oh my God.
So you got to remember, you are on a drug. You on the drug of love. But here's the challenge. What if it has high levels of cortisol in it? Because that's what you use. You used to stress. Like she bring the drama, and then when she take me in the bedroom, she put it on me in such a way that I'm lost in it. I'm swimming. But then the reality of it is I'm faded. Really.
Straight up.
Murph, check this out. I heard that one of the best posts I've seen in a long time, and it absolutely blew my mind. It said, "Don't let a $5 sundress cost you $70,000 in child support."
Oh,
That's real.
So
That's
in
hilarious.
that statement is like, okay, so you're gonna put on a $5 sundress. So is that you want to attract a $5 dude?
Because he know you got it from Rainbows.
5 and below. Just because it's packaged right don't mean that you are putting out the proper things that you may desire in the long run. Because in one stage in life, you want one thing, but in another stage of life, you want something totally different than what you started out with in the beginning.
See, Lamar, when you say that, that's the biggest thing I think for some of the guys on here. You kind of got to know what stage of life you in. Because then you don't understand the choice you're making. If I'm in it if I'm a young dude, I'm just trying to experience things, then I'm going to experience drama, and I'm going to experience trying to fix somebody and all kinds of stuff. But then when I get in my 30s, 40s, I'm kind of solidified. I'm kind of confirmed. But sometimes we have arrested development. Billy, quit playing. Billy, you know a dude that's 45 who wearing a tall tee and busting a sag and got a fake on, and wearing the same thing he was wearing when he was in high school. So the arrested development has a lot to do with the want and the need. When I was a boy, I wanted as a boy. When I was a grown-ass man, I wanted a woman. That's it.
I think a lot of women mistakenly think that their vibe is on this real mature level, and they don't understand where guys are. We're very superficial from a physical standpoint. We get attracted to that physicality, and if that's what you're projecting to try to attract, someone's attention, that's gonna be every dude and some. You know what I mean? And you're gonna get a little bit of everything. The point is, women have to understand where they're coming from themselves. You got to be honest with yourself. If you have missed love and affection, you're going to be vulnerable. You're going to be you're going to be prey. You know what I mean? Because you're going to be looking for stuff, and unfairly so, from somebody who's generally not capable of giving you what you need, which is love and affection all the time and unconditionally. Humans are fallible. We're unable to fulfill men, that is, and anybody is not able to fulfill every one of your needs. Pastor, we know who's able to do that. But we can't do that. If you're looking for that argumentative woman, Joe, that argumentative woman may have been argumentative because she was afraid to lose you. All that drama could have been simple because she was jealous of some imagined woman that you might have been talking to over because your relationship was long distance and she needed your attention, she needed your affection, she needed to make sure she kept you. That mistrust, that suspicion manifested in a whole lot of arguments, probably. The chick who's willing to do anything, everybody's running to somebody who's willing to do what you do and do anything. You know what I mean? I mean, that chick needs to keep you around. They're gonna throw it on you. Because they need to keep you around because they need love and affection. That chick who said, I was waiting for you to call, you didn't call me. Why? Yeah. I just got on the phone with you 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Right. I think a lot of times women are projecting an image and energy that is really designed to catch the wrong. I mean, they're throwing the wrong type of bait out there, which means that they're gonna catch the wrong type.
Hey, Fred, because speaking about the energy that you're talking about, Fred, I want to do this really quick with our special guest Chaz. Then I want Billy to chime in, and then Joel. Y'all all have spoken about energy. Chaz, I want to hear from you first. I know you're married, Chaz, but think back about the energy maybe that you received from Stephanie or girlfriends prior to your wife. What energy were you receiving from women, and was it a type of energy that you were attracted to? And then Billy, when you chime in, you're in the nation's capital. I know it's very transient there. I know that women come and go. Joe, you were in Miami, so I'm very curious to hear about how these different cities either are sharing the same energy or the energy is different, right? So Chaz, go ahead and start off.
All right, Jason, and if there's any audio issues, just let me know because I have a headset too. So if there's any issues, let me know. I'm going to change up the question a little bit because I ain't trying to get in no trouble. So I'll say the energy that I see on social media or from my friends. I go that route, all right? I ain't trying to get set up. But my thing is the energy that women portray, they're not putting out the same energy for someone that, you know, that they are seeking. For example, when you say, what are you looking for in a man? Generally, what do they say? They said, hey, he has to be at least 6 foot tall. I don't want nobody overweight, need to have 6 figures, need to be funny, need to be understanding. And you don't even get your feet done. And you don't get your feet done, you don't get your hair done, you don't get your fingernails done, then you go out in public and expose it. That tells me you don't even care about your damn self. So when you go out in public like that, and then you're going off looking for that type of dude, what dudes are you attracting? You're attracting the dudes that don't give a damn about how you look. And why do they don't give a damn how you look? Because they don't wash their own ass, right? So what I'm saying is you need to have your stuff together when you go out in the public, okay? And the second thing is, let's say they're making a lot of money or they have a higher education. They have their master's or doctorate degree. My second question is, what about your hygiene? And what I say is, take the vibrator out of your drawer, smell it, and then ask yourself, maybe he don't need to come home every night. You know what? Maybe he don't need to be that tall. You know what? He can be in between jobs. That's okay. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at what you're doing with your body. Are you overweight? Now, if you're going to the gym on an elliptical for 20 minutes and then you just go home and you eating burgers, French fries, and pizza, whatever the hell you want, and then this dude, you expecting a high value dude to be in shape, but you're not in shape. What are we doing here? Okay. Now you could be looking fly. You could be taking care of your hair, your nails, and your feet, right? But then, like, do you have emotional issues? Do I need to worry about you crying every night for something that happened 10 years ago? Right? So if you have issues, now I know I'm talking about women, so let me just put something on myself, okay? I'm a short dude, right? So before I got married, if I'm looking for a woman, she like a model and she like 5'11" and she like 6'2" with heels on, I know, hey, I gotta do more because she's looking for somebody that at least taller than her, right? So I need to come with the understanding, the personality. I need to make you laugh. I need to make money. So flip it. If you have something that I'm looking for and you don't have it, you may look at the mirror and you know what? Look in the mirror without the makeup and say, you know what? I'm ugly. And that's okay. And when you look in the mirror and you say you ugly, you need to say, now what can I do to compensate for this? You might have to eat some ass. I don't know. But you need to do something different. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to log off in a minute.
Is this a good time for me to quote my book? Is this a good time? Is this a good time for me to quote my book? You too can have a supermodel. 1999.
Oh, bro! Like you tap in on every kind of category you could possibly tap in when it comes to the type of energy that that someone could attract or bring into their life for someone they desire. Man, I guess from my standpoint, even living in the nation's capital or something like that, I feel like I live in an area, if you think about it, when it's the income range across the board, I feel like women in the DC capital, actually it's been proven that women in the DC capital region make more money than men. They're highly more successful, and so that it falls into your some of the points you were making as far as hygiene, how you carry yourself, how you take care, in so many different areas. You know what I mean? But at the same time, though, it's kind of if we'll just go there. As far as a high value woman who's making good money in the DC metro, right? Well, high value woman making really good money. Do you have the mindset to date someone that's making less than you? is that going to be like a trigger as far as like holding that against them or something like that? Because I've seen it happen. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, well, I make more, so like I'll wear the pants in this relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or are you like, if you've been to the city or something like that, the ratio, it's like 7-1 women to men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you do have, like, I know one of the brothers here said, like, I would never talk to a woman that approaches you, but here in the DC metro area, that's normal. When women go talk to dudes all the time.
Right.
I got a friend, he's married now, but at one point in time, he was like, I don't got to worry about it. Come to me.
They better.
You know what I mean?
But when I first moved to DC, I think it was 10-1. Back in the days, I used to go to clubs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You walk in the club and see like a round table with like 10 chicks at it. It'd be 12 dudes in the whole club.
Yeah.
Women rolling up in Jaguars and stuff. Guys showing up walking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they better.
That's real. I mean, I know when I first moved here in 2008, like it blew my mind. Every woman that I dated or talked to or something like that, I was like, damn, she got a house. I'm sitting here in my apartment still. I got roommates. You know what I mean? So I was thinking like that.
And that's great. That's great too, Billy, because going to school in West Virginia and Eric is in West Virginia. You don't meet women, and Joe, you went to West Virginia. You don't meet women who have their houses or who have their student debt paid off or who have 401k looking at a quarter $250,000. You just don't meet women in that state like that. And so you're right, when you move to a city like Washington DC, where women are doctors, lawyers, dentists, philanthropists, it can either make you like step your game up or you're gonna drown. I mean, you don't have no choice.
Straight up.
That's real.
Yeah, what's left for you? The pickings get real slim real quick if you're looking for a mate and you don't have your game together. Because what's left for you is a round the way girl, somebody with earrings this big, and working at McDonald's.
Right. I would say.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, I know for me, like, I came from Washington State, you know what I mean? So like the dynamic over in the West Coast, especially up in the Pacific Northwest, to DC is completely different. You know what I mean? I had a culture shock moment, seeing successful Black folks doing the damn thing out here and everything. That puts you in a spin. You know what I mean? As far as like how much money folks are making, what they doing and stuff like that, and then you step into that world, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, like we out here winning. And so can I step to them, or do they feel like I'm worthy or whatnot? But then you start realizing it's like everybody jacked up everywhere you go.
So Billy, you make a great point. When you talk about the energy in the being 7-1, it might be 10-1. I was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and someone told me it's 15-1 in Atlanta in the Black community. So I'm wondering, Billy, in your experience, you're not married yet. When women approach you or have approached you, we can use past tense. Have approached you. Talk about the energy that you have received personally from them. Is it usually an energy that's positive or an energy that's what can I get out of you, or energy that's like what value can I add to your life? I'm just very curious to know what kind of energy that you're receiving in that DC metropolitan area.
Honestly, brother, it's a little bit everything that you said. Like you can take it from the standpoint of I had like the aggressive energy where they feel like they can get you through sex. Or through like, like, let me show you how I can be that freak for you, even though I got a great job and everything like that. Or it's from the standpoint of like I can be that future for you. I can be the wife that you want to see and stuff like that. It's almost like someone trying to sell you themselves, and it's crazy because like coming from where I come from, that's not the energy that I'm used to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like when you see that in play and you see that happening right in front of you, or you see it happening to you, like how you react to that if you're not used to it can actually throw you off.
Mm. Interesting.
And this is such an interesting dilemma for women because, based on what the kind of man that you want, you have to, if you want a high value guy, I think a real high value guy, if you're industrious, that's what means something to him. You don't have to be making $250,000, but you have to be industrious and have a work ethic that says, you're going to pull on the same end of the rope as me, and we're going to move this load together in the same direction. The whole sex thing is, you got to be careful coming off as a porn star. You know what I mean? You got to be careful coming off as a 40-year-old porn star, because you got to know that I'm not your first, time you threw this bait out in the water to try to hook a brother. You know what I mean? So how much tread left on these tires, man? You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to be with somebody who's had, who's got like 55, 60, 100 notches on the bed. Right.
So Fred, I want you to stay right there, Fred. I want to take you to this next question and stay on what you're saying. So are you suggesting, the question is how to attract the man you desire. Are you suggesting that women not dangle or even discuss sex early on?
No. You have to be compatible. You have to research and try to determine your compatibility. I mean, somebody may be damn near asexual. If you're a woman who is, is quarterly when it comes to your need for sex, every 3 months or whatever, you got a guy who wants 3 or 4 times a week. You either need to be okay with 3 or 4 times a week, knowing that somewhere along the way you're going to be satisfied, or realize that this dude's going to be disappointed and feel like he's not getting satisfied physically if you're not willing to, to be a team player and do that for him, right? But the other thing is, I think you have to really find out what your own personal values are in determining what you really truly need in a mate. And then you have to try to find that person, because there's no point in trying to lure somebody that you're not compatible with, right? The other thing is that we tend to become attracted to people that we have proximity with and similarities with. So where the hell are you going? Where are you spending your time? And if you're spending your time at the juke joint, as they used to warn us about when I was a kid back in the 20s and the 30s, you know what I'm saying? Then you're going to find juke joint type of personalities and juke joint type of goals, if there are any. Very limited goal setting, very limited work ethic. If people are clubbing every night, that's a problem. If you're hanging out every night, that's a problem. If you're at every happy hour, you ain't happy. You're looking for escape. You don't have your priorities set right. If you can't find anything more positive to do to go to happy hour and play them damn games and drink half price drinks, something is wrong. So if you're looking for somebody there, that's an issue. Go to a damn museum. Go to a cooking class. Go someplace where you have to use your intellectual capacity to do something, to find somebody who's trying to broaden their horizons. You know what I'm saying? So your proximity to your prey, to your catch is, is also meaningful. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Proximity is huge, man, especially 15-1, DC 10-1. Like the sad reality is, and we've received these emails, Lamar and Fred, is women that they're dating men that their friends have dated. It's almost like they're recycling these men because the city is so small, not that many options. You know what I'm saying? So with this question, though, we got about 20 minutes, and I want to make sure that all of our special guests have a chance to really kind of touch on these points. Joe, we'll start with you, come back to you, Billy, and then Chaz. With this question. How do you attract the man you desire? I'm talking about women. They're asking this question. So from a man's point of view, you're in Miami. You've talked about it's very performative, very superficial. For some, not for all. For women who are desirous of a relationship with a man long term, what advice, what tips, what strategies to attract the man that they desire?
Well, one key thing that my brother stated in reference to proximity, right? A lot of these women, especially Miami, this is a party city. There's strip clubs in every street. It's a lot going on out here, right? I would say, put it the right way. Being ready, depending on what season you're in. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of women, they sometimes they desire a guy in a really hurt season. You know what I mean? And women have to be cognitive of where they're currently at. Self-awareness is everything. You know what I'm saying? And I've encountered a lot of women, countless number of women, especially out here, where they'll look real good. Because everybody out here look good, right? They present themselves as if they are good, but throughout the course of the relationship or whatever situationship, you start to see deficiencies. And the kind of guy I am, they feel like, oh, I gotta step my game up. A lot of them aren't ready to step their game up, so they end up falling back and reverting right back to the Pookie and the Ray type guys. So that's what I've encountered down here countless number of times. But then again, brother Fred has stated, and I was shaking my head like, man, this is what I'm talking about. He stated, I'm talking about going to the juke joint. And I noticed the women that I've met over there who I thought that were high value.
Yeah.
Right. And every weekend I'll see them in the club and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, man,
and you used to work one of the top clubs in Florida too, in Miami.
Yeah, I
right?
worked at one of the top clubs in Miami. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen the Megan Goods and the baddest of the baddest, you know, but honestly, this is where it starts right here. Of course, initially for men, we like visual is everything for us.
Yeah.
But then after visual, I gotta see where you at from here. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at.
That's good, man. How do you attract the man you desire? It's gotta be more than just the bombshell body, because you're right. I've been to Miami twice, and I don't know. It's just like the cornucopia of like beautiful women. You know, and we have to do this on another show. I think we need to really talk about why it is as men do we, and Murph, maybe there's a psychology behind this, why we as men translate the beauty bombshell of a woman to be the you got it all together, and you can really help me go the distance in my business, in my life. Because no, for real, y'all know
it's true. It's true.
They're laughing at me, Jay. They laughing at me.
The two don't add up, man. A lot of times the two don't add up. The bombshell does not always add up to be the woman who is driven, the woman who is supportive, the independent. Doesn't always add up, right?
That's true.
Psychology behind that, Murph. I'd like to dive into that one day.
Yeah, can I just say real quick? And this is gonna be short, and then y'all take it, man. But look, you can be a bombshell. You can be fine as hell. Matter of fact, I prefer that you be fine as hell.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I don't want no troglodyte. I don't want the damn missing link. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Be a lady. You know what I mean? Be a lady. You can be fine as hell, but be a lady. You know, you don't have to flip everybody. You don't have to flaunt it. It's obvious. Like, dude, see Chaz sitting up there, but he got muscles, but you already pushing him up some more. She ain't got to do that. He already swole. He got the damn effect on the camera and shit, making himself look all 4 times the natural size of the year, all 5 feet to his ass. You know what I'm saying? All wide and swole and shit. That ain't necessary. If you bad, you bad. Nobody can see it. I see your muscles, punk ass. I see your muscles. but if you bad, you bad, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to wear your cleavage down to here, your skirt up to your waist. If you sit down, your skirt and dress should not become a shirt. You understand what I'm saying? If you have to pull your dress down constantly, it's too damn short. That's not necessary. Be smart. Be witty. You know what I'm saying? Carry yourself well. If you know what it means to be a lady, be that. All right.
I mean, that's facts, though. Like everything you said is 100. Like how you present yourself. We can go back to what you were saying a second ago. Like how your proximity or your environment speaks volumes. Like if you constantly at the club with your ass hanging out and stuff like that, you gonna attract the type of dude that you say you don't want, but then you end up dating, and then he's still trapping on the low or something like that. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or they stop dealing with you, and they, you know, it's funny. They stop dealing with you and go to the good girl. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Like you know, we see it all the time. They gonna sit there. You showing everything. You're doing the most. You're always at the day parties. You're always at the Sunday brunches. You're listening to all these cats on Instagram talking about spend $1,500 of some dude's money. You gonna attract the dude that's gonna be. He gonna give you the $1,500, but he with somebody else. But then he just using you for mouth romance. Let's be real.
If you act like you recreation, you're gonna be treated like the recreation.
Straight up.
It's simple.
I mean, that's exactly what it is, though. If you really talk about it, like the biggest thing they talk about, like you want to attract the men that you want. It's like the places that you're attracting them. I'm not saying you can't go out, you can't do certain things, you can't have a good time. Like I live in DC, it's the day party capital of the United States.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So at the same time, though, it's like you go out, have a good time, but at the same time, is that your life? Is that all you live for? Are you doing anything else? Like, can you really have a fruitful conversation? Because there's plenty of women out here that have great jobs and stuff like that, but still can't have a fruitful conversation or connect with a dude outside of like, well, let's talk DC language. Where do you work at? Who do you work for? And what's your grade level?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Can you speak
and
outside of that?
Billy, you and I, man, we've traveled internationally, man, and we've sat down, countless meals and talked about like what books are you reading, right?
Oh, yeah.
As brothers, we were able to go back and forth on like books and authors and points that we've been able to pull out. But we've also talked about how when we're in certain look books, right? But I'm wondering how many men are able to talk to women that are putting out that energy and ask a woman, what book are you reading? Right? I mean, I don't really know if there's a lot of people who are out there reading the way that Billy, we've talked about it countless meals internationally. But it's interesting to know, like, if you can have a good time, I'm hearing, but at the same time, what else are you bringing besides a good time? And a lot of times it's just a good time.
You know what I'm saying? But even to a point that was said earlier, real quick, I was talking to someone this past weekend, and I was having a conversation with her, and she was sitting there saying, it's crazy. I can actually go out and I can have a good time on a date or something like that. And I feel like I can actually have a fruitful conversation with somebody because that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm attracting. That's what I'm manifesting into my life. And at the same time, I don't feel like I have to give my body as a way of like seeing if he likes me or not. You know what I'm saying? There's a change in mindset. Like that was a way that she thought at one point in time, but now she's thinking differently and she's attracting different. And that goes into things that you like. It literally goes into like, what are you reading? Like, what are you talking about on the daily? What do you like? What's the frequency look like? And that's the same stuff we've been talking about, Jason, all the time. We sat down with over food and stuff like that. It's like, it's literally about the vibrations you're putting into your body and your mind and your spirit. Like, if you're not really attracting that, or if you're not bringing it into your frequency, what are you expecting? If all you can think about is like what fly dress you gonna wear on Sunday to brunch, bro, like it's a problem. Like it's a problem.
Yeah. And Chaz, man, I was talking to your wife, a couple of days ago, man. It's interesting, when girls take girls trips, they often take girls trips and they start losing weight because they're trying to get ready for the gram. Right, they want to take the gram pictures, right? And I find it to be very interesting because when I traveled internationally, with Billy's a health nut like you, Chaz. While we were having fun and eating food, like he was still up at 6 o'clock in the morning going for jogs.
Damn.
So I say that for this point that it ain't just about the gram; it's about the lifestyle. So when you come across a man who can travel internationally and still work out because it's part of his lifestyle, like for women, it also men are looking for that. Don't just get ready for the gram, but that should be part of your lifestyle as well.
Exactly. And I don't want. I wrote some stuff. I wrote some stuff down. I just wanted to add. I want to make sure the ladies got this whenever they do watch this video. But I know for me, if I wasn't married or wasn't with anybody and I was single, I wouldn't want nobody with no damn dress all the way down to the ankles. Go ahead and show your ass. It's okay, right? Because that's going to make me turn my head. That's going to make me speak to you. And then what do we think? I'm a wifer, right? Now, if you're wifeable, coachable, then that's generally, how it works. It's just that as long as you have something with it, right? Because
what you mean coachable, bro? Because I don't want to get into no
cooperative.
Coachable meaning
I don't want to do that on this show.
Because when I say coachable,
I got a daughter I'm raising. I'm not doing no misogynistic type of stuff. What you mean coachable?
Is that a good time for a tape commercial?
Right. When I say coachable, I mean
better tape.
Like they're doing everything that y'all just mentioned, but they also wearing something that's appealing, something, showing off when they're out in public. But then when they're with you and they're in a relationship, they have the mind to know, okay, I don't need to dress like that anymore. I don't need to post all these photos up being provocative anymore. And that's what I mean, like coachable, being wifeable. So when to answer your question, how do you attract the man you desire? I would say number one, go get some professional help. Right, work out all those issues so you're not working it out with your new boyfriend because he's gonna sit down and say you're gonna talk to him like so what's going on with you, and then you're gonna you're gonna start crying at the table and we're gonna go hell no, right? So work all that shit out by yourself, and get the help that you need, and nothing wrong with that. The second one, it's okay to be on medication, right? Because everybody needs it. Sometimes, especially in the Black community, you think medication is a bad thing. If that's what you need, go ahead and do that. Next thing I put in is that the women are the one that are the interviewers. We're the interviewees, right? Because I don't know about y'all. I know y'all went to the club in the 90s and 80s, but when I went to any club or bar, I never had like 10 girls running up to me. I'm like, hold on, calm down. I get you in the back. All right, now sit down and talk to me. What's going on? It ain't never been like that. So they got to know that they're the ones really in control, right, at the time, and they're the one that picks and choose who they want. Once they pick and choose, and once they choose who they want, then it falls on us when they say, hey, I want you, whether we're going to deal with that craziness or not. But they're choosing us. Let's not get that
smart women. Smart women,
right?
Smart women.
And Chaz from North Carolina, and Lamar will tell you, man, being in Washington, D.C., like these women is not waiting on you to approach them. These women is
bro, they're running up on you.
Bro, the problem is the damage. This damn dog.
All right, so I'll say one more thing while Fred get your dog. COVID kind of changed up the game too, and we're kind of forgetting about that. The majority of the time that you're meeting a man or a woman now is kind of over 90% online because everything has been shut down. So it's kind of like, what is your resume? What does your profile look like? And that's how they're picking and choosing. And then from there, that's when you set up a date or not, and then that's when you have that conversation. So you got to think about that.
Well, COVID did something else though. COVID did something else though. COVID, it forced people to like really show up as who they really are. And can you hold a conversation? Can you be present? Like, who are you when you don't have the normal outlets that you normally have? So it exposed a lot of people.
But you would agree at that point, they're the ones doing the selection, right?
Oh yeah, they still got that all day.
So if in the question, how are they? You have the question up. How do you attract the man you desire? You're picking which man that you want, but it's once you make the date, what valuable information? What are you doing for that man to be interested in you in a serious way to be in a relationship with you? And that's everything that we covered for the past hour.
True, but it's also not making the man be what you think he's. No, what is it? You're not making him be who you want him to be. He is who he is.
Right.
You got to decide if you're choosing him, and if you're going to grow and build with him. But a lot of times people get with men and they think that they can change them. You have the potential of what I like, and then I think if I can make you be this, this, or this, then you'll be everything that I want. Babe, I'm gonna be who the hell I was from day one. You ain't gonna change me, goddammit. You know what I'm saying? And so, like in that regard, like of course, there's always some kind of ebb and flow as far as like how you compromise and how you grow, you choose to grow in your relationships. But at the same time, though, too many times after, not like there are women that are getting in these relationships because aesthetically this man fits you guys on paper are the Obamas, but in real life, y'all don't click. But you're trying to make him be who you want to be.
But
there you go.
But the issue is that when we show up for the date, we're the ones being fake. I'll open up the car door every first date. I don't do that the third and fourth. So it goes both ways. We all be fake on the first date.
I still do that,
Put on your best mask.
Bro, I'm married 33 years. I still do that.
Okay, the majority of us, except Fred. Everybody except Fred.
But then again, I'm Jedi Knight of matrimony, baby.
Right. But yeah, I feel you. But I'm just talking about the majority of people.
Of course.
We showing up. We got our best outfit on. We got the fresh.
Of course. Everybody's got their best face on.
You're right.
What is it?
You were talking about I was
your best representative. You got your best representative showing up.
Right.
Exactly.
So we got about 3 minutes. And what I like to do after each show, and special guests, thank you so much, Joel and Billy and Chaz, is have Lamar kind of do a wrap up. So because we're doing a double header tonight, I know him. He's been taking a bunch of notes about the discussion we've had so far. Before we transition into part two, Lamar, I want you to have a couple of words about what you've heard thus far and really kind of set the stage for where we're going in the second hour.
Lamar, watch me mute my microphone. Watch this.
For the first time ever, he muted his microphone. And everything that I heard on the night was absolutely outstanding. I loved every point I mean, Chaz been swinging for the fences since he got on this thing, man. He been swinging for the fences. One of the things that jumped out at me was if you are trying to desire, I mean, if you're trying to attract someone that you actually desire yourself, you want somebody, you want some high caliber. You have to be high caliber if you want high caliber. If you want to attract that businessman, that fella that's 6'2", if that's the one that you want, that's who you desire. You have to put yourself in that position.
Wow.
Not around the same folk you've been around, because the folk that you've been around have not done you any good. So your surroundings and your circle needs to change. The moment that your circle changes, then you put yourself in a different environment. Once you put yourself in a different environment, put yourself in a place where now you are being challenged to do better and be better, and now stand up to the same standards that you are setting. If you do not stand up to the same if you do not stand up to the same standards that you are setting for yourself, you can't hold him accountable to those standards if you're not standing up yourself.
That's good. That's good.
If you want to attract that one that you desire in your heart, like Chaz said, you can't walk around with rollers. I know after the first date, you done had a wonderful good time. It was all good. Everything was all made up. You looked absolutely wonderful. You had the stuff on, had the shoes on, had your toes done, your nails done, your hair done, your eyelashes were popping, your lips was great. Everything was well put together. You had on Spanx and everything. But listen, what happens after you take it off?
Right.
What happens after the fake you get off the stage?
Wow.
What happens when your nails come off? What happens when your eyelashes, you peel them off and stick them on the dresser? What happens when you snatch that weave off? What happens when you pull down the Spanx and you got a whole nother stomach? What happens then?
That's true.
Will he still be attracted to you?
That's true. That's true.
Do your feet got more crust than his?
Damn.
Well, the way that you attract somebody is to attract the ones that you actually desire. You first have to treat yourself the way that you want to be treated.
Straight up.
That's good.
You have to treat yourself the way you want to be treated.
That's good.
And this is gonna sound so strange, but it's good though. But it's good. It's gonna sound so strange, but good. It's so simple. Just be kind. I just messed everybody up right there. Just be kind. Not that nice nasty. You're nice between 12 and nice between 8 and 6 because that's your work hours. But then you're nasty from 6 to midnight. Just be kind. Be nice. Keep your positive personality, because whatever you put out there, you're going to get in return. Classic. Let's go back to Bible, Jay. You reap what you sow.
What you sow.
At the end of every one, you should say class dismissed.
Teach people how to treat you. Teach people how to treat you.
Hopefully that wasn't too harsh. I just thought I had to jump out there because Chaz been swinging for the fences, so I had to do a little something.
Chaz started off quiet, but he started swinging at the end. No, but it's been great, man. I mean, just hearing the perspective of Joel from Miami, Billy's in the DC metropolitan area. Both of those guys, are not married yet. So I really wanted to hear just their perspectives, really on what's happening in the streets now. And both of them mentioned a lot of women are still desirous of superficial things, but they also, saying desire something that they say they desire something more than superficial, but they're projecting superficial, right? So the advice tonight that I've been hearing is like, hey, be real. And I saw somebody in the chat, I think it was my Aunt Dariyen, all the way from California. Where's Aunt Dariyen? Oh, she said something about keep it real. Oh no, my cousin Ronnie, don't play games. Be the real you all the time. Like if you desirous of something, more than performative, be the real you at all times. As Billy posted that book that he was reading, I saw, Joel and Chaz post something also very similar. Like, if that's the real you, come to be the real you on the first date. Yep. Like, if you want to wear the bombshell dress, that's cool, but also talk about your job. Also talk about what you're reading. Talk about your hobbies. Talk about places you visited. Like, if you ain't got no passport, I'm gonna end with this because we got another group. They waiting in the wind. If you ain't got no passport, if you don't have no passport, brothers, for real, if they don't have a passport, that says a lot about their ambition.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not talking about if we was in our 20s because we might not have been able to afford it. Many of us are in our mid to late 30s, 40s, 50s. If you don't have a passport by now, that tells me something about your ambition in life. So we have to start to be able to look at what things about a woman can you tell more than meets the eye. So I do appreciate Billy, Chaz, Joel for sharing some insight tonight, man. Getting us going. This is part one of part two. We about to start into part two, and I shoot, man, y'all set the stage. Like, you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna bring them in now, just so that they can hear.
We want Steph.
I'm bringing the additional guys in now, just because I want them to know that y'all set the stage in this first hour. So what they're gonna do in this final hour, they need to give some kudos to y'all because y'all really put it down. I appreciate you all for being here, for sharing. We got to have you guys back for we got to do this again. We really do.
Please,
so,
please.
Noel, you know what I'm saying, Chaz, Billy, great to have you on, man. We'll see you all soon.
Sure, appreciate you, brother, man. Y'all be easy.
Hey, nice meeting you guys, man. Thank you so much.
Y'all take care.
Hey, I just want to say I love y'all. Y'all are hilarious. Fred, you're
thanks for putting up with me.
Yeah, and Aaron, you got to get back to that S&M thing from the last 3 shows that you talked about. And then if y'all have enough time, talk about once they get the man that they're seeking, what do they need to do to retain that individual, right? You got him now, meaning you trapped him. So what do you do now so he won't leave the whole family? But, hey, I love y'all. Hey, that's my man. What's up, Sam?
What's up, Chaz?
All right, y'all do the thing. I'm going to be watching in. Peace.
Hey, Chaz, hold on, man. Chaz, hold on for a second, man. We're going to put you in the background, man. We do need some commentary, some humorous commentary, you know what I'm saying, as we move forward. But I do want to introduce our new guest. Jason Gray, I need you to get some light, brother. You look like you in the cave somewhere, man. Let's get some light on you, man. Hey, so those who are still watching.
I'm in the car, bro.
Turn your light on, man.
Dramatic lighting.
Those who are still watching, we do appreciate you guys tuning in. We are doing a doubleheader tonight. Let me reintroduce just the session really quickly. This is part 8 of our series, Am I Worthy of Her Submission? I've actually got 2 pastors on the line tonight. Reverend Dr. Lamar Staples is on, and Reverend Dr. Barrington Johnson are 2 pastors who are in the room. And so that verse, the precipice of this series rests on that verse in Ephesians about a wife submitting to her husband. And as Pastor Staples shared a few weeks ago, there's another verse, I think, in the New Testament, Pastor, if I'm wrong, about a man also providing, a man loving his wife. He was given that as a declaration. And so the two go hand in hand. What I want to offer, though, the tonight, we have a very mixed audience. There's probably a lot of parishioners who are watching, Dr. Staples and Pastor Johnson, and there's also some folks who just like us to get real down and gritty because Murph has online. I really want to respect that balance between both audiences, and I really want to address, and I think the first group really did a great job. The first group really did a great job in addressing this question that we started off with, and we're dealing with the law of attraction tonight. And so for the last 7 episodes, we've been dealing with how men can be better, do better in relationships. We've gotten a lot of emails, text messages, DMs from women who are desirous of relationships they have not found yet. So the overarching theme tonight, the question is the person who I am seeking seeking someone like me. And I think the first group did a phenomenal job. I want to position this question to the second group, Sam, Jason, Barrington, and Dariyen. I want to position this question to the four of you. I want each of you to open up just to share your own thoughts related to this question. Let's maybe do 1 to 2 minutes really quickly before we really get down and dirty. Again, thank you for joining us, gentlemen, tonight. Just a pleasure just to have you on here for part 2 of Am I Worthy of Her Submission? Law of Attraction. So, Jason, Gary, man, turn some light on, brother. Let's have you go first. Is the person who I am seeking, and I know you personally, I've known you for years.
I'm in the car, Jay.
All right, I won't keep asking you that question. I apologize. Is the person who I am seeking, seeking someone like me? And so I want you to frame this question, Brother Gary, around when women are desirous of a relationship from a man, are they also bringing to the table the same or very thing that they desire?
Well, for me, this question is just like, do you want someone like yourself? I know I don't. I want somebody that's, independent and do for themselves, and we can come together and build that way. But do you want somebody like yourself? Do you want to be around yourself all the time, or do you want something new or something that's going to change? Well, it's going to change regardless, but I don't know. I feel like if you really like yourself, then other people are going to like you too. You just got to be yourself, like be 100%.
Let me reframe, Gary. Let me reframe, because it's not about an apple seeking an apple or an orange seeking an orange. The question is asking if you are a woman who is seeking a type of man. The question is that same type of man you're seeking, is he looking for someone like you?
It depends on what that man wants, and so we're naturally hunters. So what we that instinct. That's black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. That's instinct. The man's gonna get what he wants, and what's gonna help him be a better man. Stuff. So that's what most men look for in him, and what helps them be better.
Okay, I appreciate that. Jay Gary is married. Sam, brother, good to see you, man. You're married as well. And the question really comes from several emails we've received from our show, women who are desirous of relationships. And they say the things that they desire in a man. I desire him to be 6'2". I desire him to be gainfully employed. I want him to have 6 figures. I want him to have his own house, his own car, 401k. They have emailed us desiring these things in a relationship, right? And so the question that we're positioning tonight is the person who I am seeking someone like me. So what if that woman doesn't have those things? The question, Sam, is that man seeking someone who doesn't have the same qualifications that he has?
Well, I think the question, and it goes for both male and female, the perspective is going to be different based upon your age group. And I've learned this from, some of my older brothers. When you're younger, whether you're male or female, you might be seeking things in an individual that might not be seeking the same things that you're looking for. But as you mature, and you get established in your career and you have the financial stability, you're looking for different things in the individual. And so I think it's really kind of, for me, I think it's also, it's age based. But as a male, and this is just kind of what society is projecting, as you get older, right, and you're more established, it's more difficult to be in a relationship with someone that is maybe on your level or is the same age as you, right? Because you're going to be set in your ways, they're going to be set in their ways. And so generally what you're seeing, and again, this is what society is projecting, you know, these established men, they normally seek for younger women that they can mold into something that they want them to be. And then conversely, you know, younger women are looking for a gentleman that might be older, right? That has that father-like, you know, figure to them and can help guide them and direct them. So it's hard to say, you know, is the person who I'm seeking someone like me? Because, you know, you can have some qualities and characteristics that you're looking for, but ultimately, if you're in a good space, you have your foundation in place, you know what your worth is, then God will put that person that's meant to be for you in front of you. A lot of times what you're seeing is that, you know, you think you're seeking what you want in a person, and they might have all those characteristics, right? They might be, from a woman's perspective, 6'2" and have a job and have everything that you're looking for, but it might not work. That might not be the person for you. And then, you know, conversely, and as a man, you might be seeking certain things as well. You want them to be established. You want them to look a certain way. And you might end up getting that, but it might not work because there's other things that come into play. It's not always about the physical appearance. It's about the mental aspect as well. And generally speaking, you know, when we're younger, women mature a little bit more faster than the males in certain instances. But as we get older, things change. So there's a lot of characteristics in play. And, you know, I think it's really about having yourself in a good place and knowing your worth and understanding what you want out of a person, and eventually that person will find you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Pastor Johnson, this is an interesting dichotomy tonight because you and Pastor Staples both played ball, college ball in West Virginia. You both are pastors. So right. And Pastor Staples is in D.C., Pastor Johnson, you're in West Virginia. I'm interested in knowing the dichotomy between your female parishioners who have come to you in confidence, come to you desirous of a relationship, and when they have told you about the relationships that they desire in a man, the type of man that they want, what has been your wise counsel when they have approached you about how to find what it is they're looking for?
Yeah, first let me say, man, it's been 20 years, so it's good to see you, Jason. It's been a long time. Man. Absolutely. And actually, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina now, so that's where my
Charlotte. Okay.
Yeah. But at any rate, man, what I would say right off, you know, this whole conversation reminds me of a book that I read by Andy Stanley, and one recurring message he had throughout the entirety of the book was asking the same question what you're asking. Are you the person that you're looking for is looking for? So that question right there, you know, kind of forces you to think, you know, instead of looking for the right person, focus on being the right person. So if you can be the right person, then as one of the brothers said a moment ago, then God can send the right person. Because the last thing that we want to happen is that God send the blessing that we're not ready for. And so, you know, for females, you know, what I tell them a lot, whenever these type of conversations come up, I think the greatest gift you can give yourself is to love yourself. Because Jesus said, you know, love thy neighbor as thyself, as you love yourself. So I can't appropriately love or really be loved until I love myself. And so I think what happens typically with a lot of females, they end up in, you know, what we'll call unhealthy relationships, is because they're not loving themselves, and men can sense that. And, you know, if a man has a foul agenda or if he's on the prowl, you know, I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of men out here that are looking for women that they can manipulate, women that they can deceive. And so they can pick up quickly those that are lacking in confidence, self-esteem, or willing to do whatever just to gain attention. And so, women end up, like I was saying, in these unhealthy relationships because they haven't made their first power move for themselves, which is to truly love themselves and value themselves, which may mean that they need to be single for a season or a little while until they can appropriately, mature and develop in that area. Then again, as I stated a moment ago, when God mixes things up or puts an opportunity before them, they'll be ready. So I would say just real quick, because I know you got to move into conversation. My quick and dirty is, if you're seeing a perpetual cycle of bad relationships, unhealthy relationships, you got to start to evaluate and see how do you view yourself?
Yeah.
Because people will do what you allow.
That's right.
So if you're allowing it, it's because you're not truly loving yourself.
Yeah. That's good. We talked earlier, Barrington, about just the geographical location. We had a couple of brothers who were from Miami on the call, one in Washington, D.C., and Atlanta. I've heard that Charlotte is the old Atlanta. So I'd love to come back to you at some point and talk about just that migration from Atlanta to Charlotte and how that has also affected just the way that people view themselves, as you mentioned, self-love, and then people view relationships as well. We'll come back to you on that. But good brother Dariyen Carter, man, you're all the way out in California, man. We haven't had anybody on the call tonight yet from the West Coast. Great to see you, brother. Thanks for joining us tonight. Curious about this question, really dealing with is the person who I am seeking. And this is from the host of emails that we've received over the last few weeks in this series from women who are seeking a different type of relationship. And we'll get into energy here in a minute. They're seeking a different type of relationship than the men that they are attracted to. And so the question is the list that they created for themselves. He's 6'2", he's 195, gainfully employed, 6 figures, has his own house, car, 401k, no kids. And I don't know how you do that in your 30s, not having any kids. But there is what they're looking for. The question is, do they also provide some level of value that he is also looking for in her?
That's a great question. So what I'm gathering from this, even from this question here, and I was excited to see that it was here, it all bubbles up to desire, right? And when I think about desire, and I actually looked it up before we got on this call, it's a feeling or a wish, right? So you're wishful thinking. So if you are, below this person, and I'm just gonna use, for lack of better words, below someone's station, and you're wishing for, these other things that you don't have. They have these things, so I want them. And simply put, if the person that you're desiring, I don't think they were desiring below their station in a sense, right? They're not looking for somebody who doesn't have these things. So somebody in that same position will actually be looking for somebody who has, you say 6 figures. I mean, they be looking for somebody who's a millionaire. They may be looking for somebody who, they have a master's. They're looking for somebody who has a PhD. And so I think this is a lost translation, or almost like cyclic, situation that you're finding yourself in, is that you're desiring for somebody or yearning for something that's there instead of building with that person. You're not going to find your special person that's going to have all these qualities. But if you find something that's, outside of the physical appearance that you're attracted for someone, their drive, more so dedicated to their ambition, those type of things, those type of keywords that you're looking for, or personalities that you're looking for in someone, those other things can come. As my own personal experience, my wife and I been knowing each other since grade school. I had a lot of air quotes desires growing up of thinking what my wife would look like and what we'd be doing and growing, but we have growing pains. We had some times where we were not, in our best speech situation, but then, where we stand today, we're doing okay for ourselves. But if I would have asked myself 10 years ago, where I am today, would I be there? I wouldn't think so at all. And so I think there's a lot of, to that point, the same word desire, wanting a wishful thinking for something for your spouse or your significant other that you're looking for, that if you're stuck on that aspect alone, you're going to find yourself stuck looking for things that, are superficial. And this person may have all of these, physical qualities, i.e. a car, 6 figures, 4K, but not, may not be sexually attracted to you. May not actually, may be out in the streets doing things that they had no business doing. Those type of things. So you may be asking for one thing, but not realizing the other things that come to the plate with that.
Yeah, yeah. That's really good. I appreciate that perspective. Those who are just tuning in for the first time, we're talking tonight about the law of attraction. It's a psychology term, and our mental health therapists and psychometric. But I think I said it right. You know, Eric Murphy, he's here. He's always here. He'll dive more deeply into the nuances of those terminologies. But really, just for layman terms, those who are wondering, we're really talking about, is the person that you desire, do they also desire you? And then now that I want to move into just something really quickly, is talking about energy. In our last hour we did with the gentleman, they talked about the energy that they often receive from women. And I love the fact that I have all special guests who are married. So all of these men who are married can now speak to the energy that you felt received from your wife, but also you can speak to the energies that you decided not to be your wife. Right? You met a bunch of women along the way before you met your wife that you were like, nah, this energy ain't it. I can't get down with that. And I think it's so important for women to really hear that from a man's perspective. What energies have you received in times past that this ain't what I'm down for? I'm not interested in this. I want something that's more valuable. So we'll go to you, Gary. You started us off. You're married. What energies have you received in the past that was a deterrent, a turn off? I really want to highlight that piece because I think that there's energies that women have today that they're not cognizant that could be deterrents.
For me, it was women who were like indecisive. So it's like, oh, what do you want to do for dinner? Whatever you pick. You know, doing stuff like that. Like I was like, oh, I'm good. Like I always got to come up with something for us to do, and you didn't have, you know, other things going on, and so that kind of turned me off. And I was in a relationship for a long time, you know, and so I had to break that off. And then, you know, I met my wife online, and I think what was great about that is that we met each other right at the time when we both were going through similar things in our relationship. So we were able to talk about things and, you know, just talk about our experiences, and then, you know, talk about our childhood ambitions in life and things like that. So we connected that way. Then we started dating and doing other things. But, you know, for me, just as someone who is not decisive or doesn't have a life outside of me, I need for that person to be able to do stuff on their own and, you know, do what they want to do and have fun and enjoy life. And then, you know, when I'm doing my stuff, you know, I want to be by myself sometimes. When I'm with you, we can do stuff together. But someone who can do stuff on their own is what attracted me to my wife. And she's done a triathlon since I met her. She's a seamstress. You know, she swims. She, you know, makes jewelry. She makes stuff, you know, all the time. So she's always doing something. She just became a yoga instructor. So, you know, she can handle herself without me having to be like, okay, well, let's go do something, you know, or anything like that. So I think that's why we click really well.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. And, you know, I also want to pause parenthetically, those who are listening, those who will replay this episode, statistics, you know, are so wrong. They have it where Black men are not husbands, and have it where Black men aren't great fathers. And everybody on this show has children, and all of you are great fathers, and the men who are married, all of you are great husbands. So I just wanted to pause parenthetically and share this because I think the narrative that we often hear in the media is that we're neither good husbands nor good fathers. So I won't say kudos to you. What I'll say is continue doing what you do, because you've been doing that. Shifting to Sam really quickly, this is the same question I just mentioned to Jay Gary. Energy that was a deterrent, that was a turnoff. This is before you got married, and then maybe if you want to share the energy you did receive from your wife Crystal that made you feel like, oh, this is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're gonna have real talk here, I think Jason, Brother Gary hit on a point that naturally men are hunters, right? So we enjoy the pursuit. We don't want anything that comes too easy. And for me, I met Crystal, my wife of 7 years, in college. So we were juniors in college, and I had to pursue her. And the crazy thing is that we dated for a year. And throughout that year, I don't know how many times I asked her, but I asked her to be my girlfriend. And she told me that I wasn't ready to be a boyfriend. And I was thinking in my mind, like, how am I not ready to be a boyfriend when I'm dating you? We're monogamous. How can you tell me I'm not ready when I'm professing my love to you and want to be with you? And that was kind of an eye opener to me, right? Because that's a woman that knows what she wants, not easy to jump into a situation. Of course, we were dating, we were having a good time, but that was one of the things that attracted me to her. Some of the deterrents are obviously, being in college and even past college, right? Again, we like the pursuit, we like the hunt. If things come too easy, for me, it's like that's a red sign. If you're too thirsty, then I don't know if that's the one, because how many other men have you been like this for? And I don't want to be just a number. I don't want to be just a thing on your checklist, right? Just because I might have all the qualities that we talked about before, the physical appearance or the monetary things or the financial stability or the house. I want more. And so I think, Brother Gary also hit on something. You want somebody that's independent. You want to be able to go out with your boys and enjoy the night and not have to worry about somebody hitting you up on your phone all the time and like, hey, what's going on? I understand there's certain responsibilities that you have to have as a man, as a husband, as a father, but you want somebody that, has their own life as well. And you guys bring those two together and you grow together. And that was one thing as well. It's funny we're talking about this because I talked about this recently with Crystal, is that she's good in areas that I need to grow from a maturity standpoint. And I'm good in certain areas where she needs to grow. And you don't necessarily want somebody that's going to be like you because you're going to clash. And I can say that from my perspective. I can't speak for you guys, but I want somebody that I'm not necessarily nurturing. I don't show a lot of emotions, and she does. And so when times where she needs me to be that rock, I'm there. When there's times where I need somebody to be more emotional and nurturing, for an example, she's there. So I think those are just a couple examples of, what drew me to her, the pursuit, and then some of the easy deterrents that I can tell right off the bat that, this might be something to have fun with, but it might not be something that I want to be with.
Yeah. I'm glad you kept it 100 because I think that, it is our transparency and our vulnerability in this show that really frees and liberates folks who listen. And as we come to you, Barrington, I want to know the same thing. The energies that you have received prior to you being married, and then the energy that drove you to your wife, because I think that there are a lot of women who are emailing us who are desirous, Barrington, of marriage, and many of them are desirous of a second marriage because they've been on our show and shared they got it wrong the first time, and now they want to get it right the second time. But they're a little confused on how to do that because they've been out the dating game 10 years, 15 years. Before social media even existed, many of these women were in relationships, in marriages, right? So now that social media is here, knowing how to navigate some of those things are a little difficult. So talk to us about just the energy that you felt was a deterrent, but the energy that drove you to your wife at the same time.
So my situation is probably a little bit different than most of the brothers on here. I met my wife when we were, I think, 13 or 14, and we started dating when we were 15. So we've been together ever since. So I don't have a huge, extensive past prior to her, but I can still speak to the question in a sense. And actually, I'm gonna piggyback off of the brother just spoke. I think his name is Samuel. That The word that came to my mind, the energy, at least for me, that works for me, is someone that presents themselves as a lady,
Mm-hmm.
So, I now granted, us as men and women, we all go through various phases and stages of our life to when we want and desire different things. But at the point in my life to where I was really serious about making it happen with someone, or my wife Tamika, that's what I needed, was a lady. And a lot of that came, from the fact that, some of the psychologists on here can confirm that, what we see in our mother typically is what we want in a wife in some sense. And so my mom always presented herself that way. So I needed that in a woman. And so with Tamika, my wife, who you know as well, the way that she always carried herself to where, you wouldn't see her and make any assumptions, or you wouldn't see her and think that it was going to be something like an easy target. And her communication and all that, it packaged up in a way for me, that worked for me. So by default, the opposite is what doesn't work for me. I would never have a serious interest in a female that did not present herself in that way as a lady.
Yeah.
And that goes from the way that she dresses, the way that she communicates, the way that she talks, just carries herself overall. That's important to me.
Yeah. And Barrington, if Tamika, your wife, is listening, you're absolutely right. She and I came in the same year. You were playing ball at Shepherd University, long distance relationship, West Virginia University, where Tamika and I were the same class, same year. And you're right, man. She was a lady even as a freshman in college, right? And I have not seen it, man. No, seriously, I have not seen it. And Murph will tell you, because he went to West Virginia as well. Like in Barrington, you would come visit on weekends. West Virginia University is crazy. It's a wild camp. It's a wild campus. Your wife has been a lady, I believe, since you met her at 13, bro.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I think that what you share is spot on. That when women are desirous of a relationship with a man that is different than what they've experienced, what I hear you saying, Barrington, is how are you presenting yourself?
Yeah, and exactly. And I'll just piggyback on that too, because like attracts like. So who you are, or how you present yourself is what you will attract. And as long as you're presenting yourself in a certain way, it's kind of the same biblical principle, sowing and reaping. Whatever you sow, exactly what you'll reap. So whatever you put out there is exactly what will come back to you. The Bible's full of that. It says, he who desires friends must first find himself friendly. So if I want friends, I have to be a friend. Well, if I'm looking for something, then I need to be that very thing that I'm looking for, so it can come right back to me.
Yeah. Andy Stanley, that was a great book that he wrote too. You're right. Another person that the person I'm looking for is looking for. Great book. Brother Cardi, similar question. Just really curious about the energy. I mean, I think similar to Barrington. I think you knew your wife in y'all's teenage years. So I don't know if there was a breakup to make up moment in between, but I'm just curious to know if at what point did you realize that there was a lot of energy you were receiving from other women that were deterrents, which is why you didn't choose them, and then what energy was it that drove you to your wife?
Absolutely. Barrington's the irony is I met my wife as well as 13. Except we were, off and on. We dated through middle school, broke up, dated in high school, broke up, dated in college, and then we're like, well, you do you, do me, I'll do me, and eventually if it happens, then so be it. And we graduated and was like, there's nothing else out there. And it kind of goes to the same question about the energy that was out presented. So growing up, as a young man, and your hormones are raging, your desires and what you're looking for are completely different than what you are as an adult, right? You know what you're looking for as a child, as a kid, learning himself, want to be that guy, try to date all the hot chicks and so on and so on. And watching just how my wife carried herself, she definitely wasn't she definitely wasn't my first, but anytime I went at my wife and speaking real talk, essentially, it was no games for that. She's like, I'm waiting for marriage. I don't want no part. And it was just a different breed. I grew up in Baltimore, and most people, most kids lose their virginity by the ages of 12 to 13 years old in our community. So it's just kind of crazy. And she was just like, that's not how I am. That's how I'm going to carry myself. So that was one of those biggest things, is to mention, going back to what you guys are referring to as being a lady, and kind of like holding, having a bar that she had like a bar set aside differently than her peers. And, like she was doing things her own way and carrying herself differently. And that kind of, she matured into that same space all through, through high school, through college, and the same. It's just that, whatever her friends were doing, she was doing things differently. And that was kind of like, it was more curiosity that drew me to her more than anything, because it wasn't like everyone else is going the way, they see their friends going. But she was going against the grain. She was doing things differently, and that's what kind of drew me to her. And then also the materialistic, that's the deterrent thing for me. It's just like, if someone, we're having a conversation, we're dating, and it's like, what are you getting out of me? More so than what you're putting into me. I want this and this and that for ABCD event. Why didn't I get this? That was kind of like, it's like, if I did not have these things, would you still see me the same? And so that's what kind of like drew me to my wife, is because she saw me when I had nothing. And, and even to this point, to this date, she's my rock, no matter what, up or down, she's not looking for a materialistic aspect of me. She's focusing on me as a person. And so that's my major drive, to kind of like, what the energy that was given to me and presented to me is, because I know that, what she's putting into herself and how she's carrying herself is what she's going to put into my children. And so I was thinking for the future. She's like, she's going to teach the same expectations to my children. And so what are we going to teach the next generation? And so that's what definitely drew, like, that was a lock and deal seal for me. It was just like, she's going to teach them the way of how to live, how to drive, how to carry themselves, man or woman. My son now is 4 years old, and he knows how to carry himself with some due respect, excuse me, thank you. Those are just built into him. Whereas, I just didn't see that same with our peers and how they're carrying their children and growth and, and focuses in the world.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Let's have the fellas who are normally on the show make some comments. I think our special guests have picked up right where our other guests left off. I mean, it was fire the first hour, and it's still fire. Chaz, jump in. Fred, Murph, Lamar.
I have a brief comment. First of all, I thought I was going to be the outlier for every one of these shows, and that I've always been the old head, the guy married the longest. I've been married 133 years. Exact 100, but 33 years. I call myself the Jedi Knight of matrimony, and I thought I was going to be the outlier because I met my wife in college at 19 and she was 18. But you brothers met your wives like right out of the womb almost. And that's pretty astonishing that you would find the love of your life at such a tender age, at like 14 and 13 and 15 and 14 or whatever it was. And that's a blessing. That's a gift from God, because who in the hell is mature enough to realize what true value is in a woman at that age? And I include myself, even at 19 and 18. Lord knows I was nowhere near mature enough to make that type of life decision. But I consider my wife to be a gift to me, because like you, and it's funny that we share this in common. The thing that attracted me, the thing that got my attention was her carriage, her bearing, her intelligence, her demeanor. She was demure, she was reserved, she was a lady. And I got all of that from our initial introduction. And to tell you the God's honest truth, I was playing tennis with a friend who sort of introduced us, because he didn't know my future wife's name, but he knew her sister. And from that moment on, I went back to my dorm and could not get her off my mind. Could not. I didn't know how to find her. There were no cell phones. I picked up the old ringy-dingy phone and tried to find her and couldn't, and ultimately ended up finding her later. But very similarly, she was a lady through and through from beginning until this very moment. She's always been a lady and my rock. To speak a little bit to what turns me off, or what has turned me off, and I can't lie and pretend like I haven't had some recreational times. in my life. But I will, and I don't have to get real graphic. I think you guys know what I mean. But what I will say this is that whole freak show thing is it doesn't do it for me. Whenever I've been faced with somebody who thought that their way to my heart was through the freak show, in a sense, it's belittling. In a sense, it's telling me that you don't think that much of me, or at least you don't know me. Because if you think this is all that there is, and this is all that there is to me, and this is what will wow me and keep me, that just doesn't do it. I mean, even at 19 or in the earliest years, it clearly there's more to life than that.
Hey, Fred, I think that's a great point. I want Chaz and Lamar and Murph to also chime in on this question. I'm going to kind of segue really quickly from your comment about freak show. And we're all men, and we won't keep it 100. Sometimes when we have met women like that, we know if it's not been our experience, we know men who that person is just something to do. Like, I'm gonna hang out. It's just kind of something to do, pass the time. But I'm very curious though, those who are regularly on the show, before we get back to our special guest, where that narrative come from? Where does the narrative, Murph, psychological narrative come from that women feel as if that dressing a certain kind of way will produce the type of relationship that they're desirous of? Where does that come from?
I think, man, a lot of times it's the behavior that women demonstrate to achieve a relationship. A lot of times it has to do with most of the time it has to do with what they've witnessed and what they've been exposed to. So if I've been exposed to I think the consumer kind of first and foremost, all the men have said the same thing. We are all visual. So it's about the fertile. Like, if you look fertile, if you look like you could produce, if you look ample, then I think that my harvest is going to be ample. So it's really more of a serpentine mind kind of thing. It is from a basic instinct. But I also believe that there has been, as of now, there is a toxic, I believe, capitalism, right? And I say that because it's about it looks good, but I know it's not okay. And a lot of times this toxic capitalism thing I'm talking about is attached with trauma. And I'm a firm believer in that whole thing about relationships. Like, look, bro, if I'm trying to find somebody to fix, I'm only trying to fix them because I couldn't fix somebody in my life, and that probably was my mama. So if I'm really trying to pull it in, like, I got this girl, I can help her. She tell me about her day. I tell her how she needed to fix her day. I tell her all these things. I chose her for a reason, because she smells wounded.
But
yeah.
It's also, like you always say, it's also a blunt. It's also easy,
bro.
You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with it.
And you're right, Fred. It is
invaluable. It's just hey, look at these.
It is a sedation, but you got to know sedation is a defense mechanism. So it's still me dealing with my trauma. By not dealing with it, I can dive into sex with this person and not have to deal with my own insecurity. And I'm going to perform. I'm going to show out, because she's going to be like, oh man, this brother really puts it on.
But we're talking about the woman. We're talking about the woman. From the woman's perspective, right?
The woman's gonna do the same exact thing, bro. She's gonna choose. K. Michelle wrote that song about how to raise a man for a reason, brother. And I believe that. And Kanye, I'm not a big Kanye fan like that, but he damn sure said it right when he talks about we dress up things that we, the dress up our pain. It's from the material. So what it is we have adopted this whole philosophy of, if it looks good, it's okay. I can deny. I can have rims on my car. The girl could be the rims on the car while I'm living in my basement.
Hey, Jay, do me a favor. Ask that question one more time. I'm gonna make sure I got this right before I respond.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Ma Shirley's comment back on the screen, because I want you to jump on this, Lamar. Then Chaz chime in as well. The question is really, where has the narrative come from where has the narrative been originated, where women oftentimes feel as if that the aesthetic, the dress from Rainbow, y'all talked about last show, $5 dress from Rainbow, or whatever. Where have they gotten the notion that how they look aesthetically? I think Chaz mentioned earlier the lashes, you know, I think Lamar, you mentioned the weave earlier. Where have they gotten that narrative that the aesthetic is what draws a man to you and what will sustain him in a relationship with you as well?
I can jump onto that right there. My Shirley's absolutely right. Oftentimes it is low self-esteem, low value, devalued, or a classic learned behavior and environment. And then there's another piece called the social effect. You know, social effect. This the problem right here, fellas. Often they do it because of us. They do it because of us because we hype it.
Wow.
We put it on display. We give it all of the attention goes to the one that has on the little itty bitty skirt, not the one that got the skirt down to the floor. We put the value on those things in public. We may not keep her, but we're sure enough stick her.
Wow.
I'm just throwing it out there. It's a product of your environment. If that's the only thing that you've ever seen, if your parents taught you that, if your environment, your friends, your family, if that's all you've ever seen, and now you go on to social media, that's all you ever see on social media because of who you follow, you will act the way according to who you follow. If you're following hood rats, you will become a hood rat. Did I say that the right way? Hopefully I'm not offending nobody tonight. It's a classic thing. What's the young lady's name? Judith Orloff. Judith Orloff. She wrote this book about positive energy. She said, "We are who we attract. We are who we attract. If we have rage, we attract rage. If we have passion, we attract passion. If we are grumpy, we attract grumpiness. But if we love, we attract love. If we respect, we attract respect. Who are you really?" I just want to throw that out. I think that's part of it, Jerry. That's some of the stuff that we deal with.
Barrington, go ahead, Barrington. You ought to raise your hand, brother. Go ahead, chime in, man.
Yeah, so I actually what the brother just said is what I was going to say in answering the question, where do females get this from? To be honest, they get it from us. They get it from us, all of us as men, because, if we're really honest about it, we've all been to that point to where we engage with a female, say sexually or something, and in that moment or not too far after, then we'll start saying, "Man, I love you." And for a female, that's what they need. That's what they want. That's what they're chasing. They're chasing love. So then they associate sex with love. So then they're going back to what the gentleman said at the beginning. He used the word "a freak show." It reminds me of my oldest boy. He's trying to get his basketball career up and going and everything. So I'm telling him, every time you step on the floor, it's a tryout. That's what I'm telling him. It's a tryout. Somebody's watching. So now for females, when they get an opportunity with a man, to them, many of them see it as a tryout. So they have to bring the best that they have to the floor in order so that they may get a spot on the team.
Wow.
So now we as men have created this narrative where, we'll give the attention to the one, give us what we're looking for, what they want. So now really we need to take ownership of what we're creating or what we're putting out there so that we can allow these women, thinking about my 7-year-old daughter, to think that, no, you don't have to perform in order to give love.
There you go, Pastor. So thank you. You concluded that exactly what I was about to ask Murph to help me if I stray. But the whole idea up until that, helping your 7-year-old daughter realizing her own self-love and self-esteem, the whole idea is pathological, that women are so desperate for love, so desperate for affection, that they're willing to settle for the unacceptable, for abuse, for neglect. They're willing to create drama where there shouldn't be any because they're suspicious, they're jealous when they shouldn't be. They're afraid of being abandoned, so they need you beside them all the time. We had a brother on a few minutes ago said he was looking for somebody who was willing to spend some time alone and was comfortable with him spending some time alone. But when you are so desperate for love because you lack love or have lacked love and have lacked affection in your life.
So I have a question.
Let's look at it this way. I want you to tap into this side of it because you're going right down the street where I wanted to run down anyway.
Go ahead.
Sometimes some of the areas are dealing with the place of they were rejected as a child.
That may be where it came from. Exactly.
Yeah.
That may be where it came from. But so they're still searching. That leads to the freak show. That leads to the sexual promiscuity. That leads to you can do anything to me and I won't get messed. Have me around, whatever, abuse me, I'll take anything. Just don't leave me. Just hug me. Just love me. Just show me some affection. I'm willing to put up with anything. I'll accept the unacceptable. Just don't abandon me simply because they miss love and affection and warmth and the simple words of encouragement and love as a child. Right? So how do you know what to look for? How do you, Murph, we keep coming back to this. How do you realize your brokenness before you start projecting something? Pastor Johnson, you said, and also Dr. Staples, you talked about being what you desire. But what if what you desire has always been, like Murph says, trauma, abuse, because that's what you're familiar with. You're familiar with somebody hollering and screaming at you and then making up to you. You're familiar with a certain sense of neglect and then somebody patting you on the butt and telling you it's all going to be all right. How do you understand your own brokenness? How do you understand your own trauma before you start casting bait out? And yeah, we do sort of promote our own proclivities toward the visual. You know what I mean? We're very visual. We're predators. We're hunters. And we look for somebody with narrow waist. It means they ain't pregnant. They're impregnable, right? Somebody with wide hips. It's all scientific and you call it what you want. But nevertheless, a woman can still advertise and be classy. Right? It depends on what you're trying to project.
Before we shift, we got about 10 minutes left. I want to do this really quickly. The question that's on the table, I want to just give to the audience again, those who want to know where we're going with this, is where has a narrative come from when women who are dressing very provocatively to get a man that they desire? In the first hour, we talked about where are you hanging out geographically? Are you spending a lot of your time in the club, in the lounge, but you're desirous of a man who is faithful, desirous of a man who is, God-fearing, desirous of a man who is motivated and self-driven, but you find yourself in the club, the lounge 5 days out of the week geographically. So what we're talking about now is where does the narrative come from? We're hearing, I love the way that Barrington framed it, Pastor Johnson, when he said, he teaches his son, treat every day like a tryout. When you're on the basketball court, you are trying out for the first time. And I think oftentimes women will meet a man and think, I need to give my best to him so that I can be chosen, I can be selected. Curious to know from those who are still on, our special guests. I want to get to y'all now before we have the other guys close out. But Dariyen, I'm curious to know, and then Sam, chime in after. Where do you feel like that narrative come from? And then once you've identified where the narrative come from, how can we change that?
Excellent. So the first two I think of, I know this may date and outdate in this situation, but I think this is definitely a product of video vixen, video days, expectations from the late 90s, early 2000s, where people saw, we were changing the game. We're having all these videos, and you're seeing all these women who are no longer dressed like they've seen them before prior days. When Whitney Houston had just the V-neck show, and that was like, oh my gosh, that was top news, changed the game. But now we have women who are like all over cars and, you know, half dressed. And, you know, that was the way that they were getting all of these rap stars and these hip hop artists and stuff of that nature. And that was our culture. And now, you know, you fast forward 10, 15 years, it's just normalized. Along with that, since especially in addition, now that we have social media, it's what it's the only thing we breathe in, is what we take. That's the only thing you see at this point. You see your friends in, you know, half clothes and all the likes and what they're getting, and, you know, what if they do this, and you trying to figure out their recipe essentially. So you're looking at, you know, what they have on the forefront, but not knowing how they got there. And so those are the two things, I think, between the culture that we presented ourselves in the late, you know, in the 2000s and stuff of that nature, that's now presenting itself as our normalized product of our society. And then in two, now social media, and this is what, you know, if I do this and I see this person if they wear nothing at all, they get this type of person. That's what I need to do that. I need to replicate whatever they're doing because I get that product. I get whatever they're doing based off what I see. How to dial back from that? It has to start back from, I mean, essentially, once it's recognized, it needs to be passed on. A lot of times we find ourselves trying to fix ourselves so much that we forget that there's a generation that's watching you, right? And so the whole time that you are continually, you know, focusing on yourself, you're neglecting those who are watching you, and they're only seeing the same product, right? So now I'm not going to focus on myself, and I'm going to only focus on myself and not put or pour into the next generation. You know, with my son, you know, he has a tablet, but this tablet is so completely connected to Amazon Kids, and that's it. There's nothing that he can see outside of that. You get half of TV, but then the other kids, you know, that I know, and my son is 4, and I mentioned that for a perfectly good reason. There's other kids who are exposed to videos and they have their kids dressing, you know, 4-year-olds are dressing kids' clothes that they're not should be in. We're kind of like replicating and showing that should be normalized. And I think it's where we need to address it and how we can correct it from there. Along with you working on yourself, but we need to focus on the next generation as well.
Yeah, I like that. The culture has been normalized that this is okay. This will get you what you want. But it hasn't shifted anything, because we still find that, you know, more than half the church, and Pastor Johnson and Pastor Staples both probably know this, more than half the black church is divorced and on second and third marriages. And so they're just trying to get it right. And so if that has been normalized, that dress can get me what I want. How do we change that? Brother Sam, talk for a second. You know, curious to know from your vantage point, you know, how do we change that? There are women who are so desirous of relationships, and they're really trying to figure out what their step should be. How do they go about attracting the kind of men that they actually do desire?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult shift no matter what, right? I think we've all touched on that. Just society itself has normalized and accepted what we've called on here the freak show. Because you get money, you get likes, you get attention, you get all the things that make other people envious of you. But that's what you see on the forefront from the public view, but you don't see what's happening on the inside and behind closed doors. And we see that now a lot. I mean, the only way to change it is to you know, find examples and present examples of what positivity looks like, and what, you know, what we've talked about as far as being a lady and presenting yourself in a certain way. You can still show things, but then act a certain way. Again, that's just going to be so difficult to do with the way that the society is now. But I believe that's the only way that we can kind of change that narrative, is just identifying examples of what, you know, are the good things and where the direction we should go in, and try to perpetuate that. But it's going to be difficult no matter what. I mean, we've gotten in so far down a tunnel where, again, you know, kids, they got the little dance shows where the young girls are cheerleading and they're wearing these provocative clothes, and it sells. They get millions and millions of dollars on Amazon and Netflix for these type of things. And it's just so difficult to change that narrative. But, you know, finding positive examples and illustrating that and projecting that for both male and female, like Brother Carter said, for the next generation, is the only way that we have an opportunity and a chance to change that narrative.
Yeah, speaking about narrative, I want to end with this with our special guest, Barrington. We'll start with you, and then Dariyen, and then Sam. I want to just kind of touch on this question really quick, and then I'll have our co-host kind of close out with this question. If the narrative for women has been, I've got to dress a certain kind of way to get desire, and that's not all women, I'm just saying what we see projected on TV and in social media, right? If that's the culture that we're in now, and that has not been the culture in the 80s and maybe not the culture in the 90s, but certainly the culture in the 2000s. This shifting for a second, why is it that men do not struggle attracting what they desire? This question came from one of our audience members who say that they see men, a female who said they see men that they desire. And so because you all are married men, Sam, Barrington, and Dariyen, I know that the three of you personally, you're married to the women that you have desired. The game now is, what is it? Why is it that you didn't struggle necessarily, or did you struggle attracting what you desired? And if you did not struggle, the game the women are asking for is, what was it about it? What did you do? How did you attract exactly what you desire? Barrington, we'll start with you, Dariyen, and then Sam.
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind. I think one thing that we probably need to put some attention towards, which really could be the root cause of a lot of things that we're talking about, is that statistics shows that 1 in 4 Black women will get married. And that's for various reasons. A lot of our Black men are in jail. A lot of our Black men are dead, or some other type of statistical category to where they're not even available for a female. So now we have the upper hand to where our selection is wider. But for women, it's not the case, unfortunately. So that's why I think they're putting more energy into trying to acquire a man or trying to keep a man, because we see a lot that some women may marry somebody that they don't love, but they marry them because they're fearful of being single for the rest of their lives. You know, those things happen. So that's one thing that causes this to where it's a little bit easier for men. But I would also say too, just kind of going back to a biblical model for marriage and relationships, the onset, how it derives, and we're wired as men that as the scripture says in Proverbs, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. So we're naturally taught to go after and get, and women are taught to stay and wait. So therefore, we have more allowance to do all that we want to do, and then just find a wife along the way. But women, aren't given that option to do so. So therefore now they don't have the culturally speaking, don't have the ability just to go out and make the selections that they want to or pursue at the same rate that we do. So I think that's what caused a little bit of the imbalance. But,
I'm glad you mentioned that statistic. 1 in 4, that's strong.
Yeah.
That's strong. Yeah.
At this point, I mean, he passed the hit it right on the nail. I would also say the grass is not always green on the other side. Just because it appears as though that us looking to find what we desire, the struggle's there. It's just a matter to the point of sowing our doing what we would like to do into the streets. Essentially, I would bring it back to like we can do whatever we want without no recourse and have a reset button. We can go up and say I'm a good man now. But opposed to which we always know is the track record. If I go and do X amount of things with Y amount of women, it's a lot different than a woman does the same thing that I would do, because at the same turn, then she has to answer in a sense. And then this is not as misogynistic as it sounds, but it sounds like if she would have to answer to what she's done in the past, opposed to a man is just like, look, I was a guy, and that's unacceptable. I think that's where that desire that kind of plays into a part of it. So women have to be a little more reserved to kind of go out there and do their own thing, kind of do that, look and search. But to my point, I had to fight. My wife was just like, you're the same kid that we grew up in. Like I had to go and say, look, I'm different now. Or, I had to put that. There was a struggle for what I desired, and made it happen. Then it's also work. Even that I'm married, that's not the finish line, right? That's not where it ends. You have to uphold what you said, when you set those vows. You had to uphold and understand that the same person that we married at 24 is not the same person that I'm with when I'm 32. I'm not the same person then. So now what I need to make sure that she's happy and we're happy, and it's not a 50-50, it's 100-100, so that way we're keeping up with those exact same aspects. So that's what I would think from this question.
Yeah, great perspective, Darren. I appreciate that. And Sam, the struggle, is the struggle the same for men as it is for women? And if it's not, why does it seem that men don't struggle as much with what they desire and attracting what they desire?
Yeah, I mean, I think both the brothers just hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, we have options, and as we sow our royal oats, we get an opportunity to find out what we like and what we don't like. And hindsight is 20/20. And I know for specific examples for me, you might have had that one that is the right one, but you want to continue to go out and have fun and do whatever, but then you're like, damn, I missed out on the one that I really want. And then that makes you revert back and go hunt and pursue the one that you really want to be with. And that's when the struggle happens, because either she can accept you for who you are at that time, or she's going to make you work to get to being the person that you need to be with her. So I think it's I mean, we have options. There's a lot more women out there. I mean, just living in DMV area, I mean, we see that all the time. There's a lot more women out there than men. And Brother Johnson hit on the statistics. It's plain and simple. So we have the options, but the struggle is still there. And at least from my perspective, when you find the one that you want to be with, there's things that you still have to work on yourself. And like Brother Carter said, just because you might have married that person or you might be with them, there's still growth that needs to happen because you need to grow together. So there's still struggle there. I think it's just in a different phase of what we're talking about now. We're talking about the initial attraction, when for men and from my perspective, the struggle was after we've already been together. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Brother Johnson, Brother Carter, Brother Hale, it's been phenomenal to have you guys as part of part 2 of our series, Am I Worthy of Her Submission, Law of Attraction. Y'all dropped a lot of gems tonight. The comments were going crazy. We're on 3 different streams, 2 Facebook pages, 1 YouTube. And so, if you guys get a chance to go back and read some of these comments, man, it was really eye-opening. Thank you for sticking out with us. Pastor Staples and Fred and I are going to kind of close out. So, Brother Carter, Brother Johnson, Brother Hale, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate
you, man. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Oh, man.
How do you start to try to unpack all of that?
I mean, I just love the fact that it was, the first group started us off, and then we met a bunch of brothers at the end who were married, almost like been there, done that, played the game, you know what I'm saying? And I become more spiritual, I become more focused, more driven. And so now I want to give back, in ways that I may have robbed women in past relationships of. And bro, it was phenomenal tonight. What y'all think?
Man, the information that came from various different perspectives was outstanding. Come on, duct tape, unmute your mic.
Some of the last comments were some of the ones that were most telling and convicting. When you talk about, why do guys have it so much easier? You know what I mean? Because we can just keep fishing and throwing them back, keep fishing and throwing them back. And sadly, man, we are taking advantage of somebody's daughter. I have a daughter, and that's convicting. That damaged young lady, that young girl in college, she was 19, 20, 21, 22, that chick that you meet who is behaving the way she's behaving because she's missing something. And, there are times when you don't understand that, you think she's just a freak, but there's something missing and she's searching for something and we don't care, and we take advantage of that. And that's convicting. That really is convicting. And I hope I taught my son in that. But You know, like I said, it's convicting. These conversations make me want to be a better man, but especially when we have the ladies on, and sometimes make me wish I had been a better man when we all start talking about, you know, where we've been, where we've come from.
I like that second part you mentioned, Fred, because you know ignorance is bliss. You know, some people say, and at the time where I didn't know to do right, you know, I felt like I was okay. But you're right. At the moment we realize what wrong was wrong and right is right, and we still desire to do wrong. Like in these moments that we have as men, I'm also convicted too, Fred. I mean, I don't get off the call somber, but I get off the call like I'm about to go see my daughter, and I'm thinking about, man, how can I protect her from me? Not me in the flesh,
right?
But me who was a freshman in college, me who got his first job out of college and was making a little bit of money, you know, me who was on the scene and promoting and you know, working at clubs and stuff, you know, like how do I protect her from, you know, the game, the gift of gab, you know? So yeah, I feel the same way. I feel convicted oftentimes.
But the answer is increase your self-esteem, man. Always. All of this stuff we were talking about, it always came back around to, and there was always some element of women who didn't know what they want, or who were abused or being taken advantage of, or were sending out the wrong signals because they were searching for the wrong thing. It's because they were searching for love and affection. And much of it is simply because they lacked self-esteem. They didn't realize that the love of some person was not the answer to their emptiness. Now we can start preaching, Pastor. You know what I mean? We know the answers. Don't get me started, because I'll get my basket and ask for a love offering. You know what I mean? But the point is, if you don't love yourself, you're always going to end up brokenhearted, because nobody is going to satisfy your every physical, emotional, psychological, and sexual need all the time. Nobody. That's too much to ask of anybody. You're doomed to be disappointed and let down if you're putting all those eggs in one human basket. You know, if you don't know how to love yourself, if you don't realize your own value, you're doomed to be heartbroken.
Yeah. And I kind of want to close out with this, Lamar. I'll have you answer this question that Brooke poses. I think, Brooke, this is a great question. It really segues into just our closeout for the night. You know, we've talked so much about men not getting it right. We talk so much about men sowing their royal oats, men having options, men learning later in life the right thing to do. And Brooke asked a very good question. Why do men get it later in life? Why don't we learned it much earlier? And I'm gonna just say 3 seconds worth of stuff and then turn it over to Lamar. Brooke, you know, I didn't learn until late in life. When you grow up with men who say that what you're doing is the right thing to do or it's okay to do, you fall into that. And it's not until you realize that it's not the right thing to do. And so, speaking for myself and a lot of other men that I know, we learned it later in life because we didn't realize all those years that it was wrong.
You gonna leave it on me?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
It's been such a crazy deep show the whole time. But if I was to answer that question that you put on the screen from Ms. Brooke Coles, I would say it really simple. Is that we don't get it early in life based on, as many doctors have already said, is a maturity level. Men mature later than women mature. That's just one. Number two, and like Jay said, and I'm going to go along with what Jason said, and I'm gonna add something to it, because often we learn how to be men from other men, and most often the men that we learn from are telling us and teaching us and pushing and prompting us not to be committed, not to sow your royal oats and go out here, have fun, and do everything you can while you can, as much as you can. But then I often say this as well. It wasn't just the men either. It wasn't just the men teaching us. Oftentimes it was grandma now and auntie now talking about, when we 4 and 5 and 6 years old. Oh, he a little player already. I'm not gonna just put that on the men that we learn from. I will often put that on also, he sold this, he sold that, and da 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 da. And you shouldn't mess with her. You too young for that. You need to have you 2 and 3 right now. You don't need to settle down. We did not only hear that from men, but we also heard that from women.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, Lamar, close us out though. We dived in 2 solid hours, and we just appreciate y'all. I mean, y'all have been hitting the comments.
Oh man, I've been looking at Facebook and on YouTube, and comments been going crazy on both of those.
I want to go to my homie really quick. She made a comment. I'm gonna pull it up really quick, Lamar. Nisi, man, she was like, "Look, my mama wasn't having it, so I'm a different breed, right?" Nisi, I love that comment because as we spoke about why women project themselves to be a certain kind of way. I am glad that you made this point because there are some mothers who are raising their daughters not to be that way, right? You're a different breed, and you're absolutely right. I think it comes back to, and Lamar, you can speak more to this than I can. The Bible talks about somewhere where are the mothers? We're the mothers in the church nowadays. We're the mothers, right? The ones who are providing great wisdom and great lessons and great gems. I tell you, man, when I used to be a club promoter in DC, man, I was seeing the mothers in the line trying to get in the club. So the mothers that we're searching for to be teaching some of these lessons to both men and women are sometimes not in their rightful place.
Idea for another show, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the best things that I've heard, and I heard, if I'm not mistaken, one of the greatest orators I've ever heard said this the other day. He said, church is looking more like the world, and the world is looking more like the church. Church is believing more in the world, and the world is believing more now, in the church. So those that's on the outside believe more than those that's on the inside. So yes, the older church mothers, the way that I grew up in church, you couldn't come in there with your pants sagging. You couldn't come in there with nothing tight. You couldn't come to church like that. You ain't gonna just look any kind of way. They'd take you in the back and put a whole choir robe on you, and then tell you go ahead and go sit down somewhere and enjoy service, baby. Go ahead, but you ain't gonna be walking up in here looking any old kind of way.
Women couldn't wear
pants. And your leg all crossed and you're dressed up to your hip. They'll come up to you and put a scarf across your leg. That's that old school church.
Yeah.
But the same way that the world have lost respect for our elders, the church has as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
The church looked too much like the world.
Yeah. Be real, man. Keep it real. That's the truth.
Yeah.
The church looks too much like the world.
That's all of this is good for another show at some point. I mean, and this could be a part of child rearing and just the decline of morality and principles.
Yeah.
In the world, period, man.
Pastor Lamar, pastor of a mega church in DC, his father, Bishop Glenn Staples, founded the church, from 885 Barnaby and raised it into this mega church. And now Pastor Lamar Staples has the privilege of pastoring. But, Lamar, I tell you, man, there were many Sundays I have lost count where I would stand on, the pulpit, next to you, before you or Bishop was preaching, and there'd be offering. And, when the offering, people walk around the aisle for the offering. And I tell you, the comment that you just made, sometimes you didn't know where you were. Like sometimes I thought for a minute, like, oh, we at the club, because I'm watching what's walking across the aisles to the offering plate, the way that some of the women will be dressed, right? And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I'm praying like I got to get my mind right. I'm in church. You see what I'm saying? But you're right. We have now people who have come into the church. It's the people. We have come into the church and we have changed the way we do church. It ain't the leadership. It ain't the pastors, because the word is fire. It's the people who coming into the church have changed the way we do church. And so I think we just got to do a better job with that.
Often, what a lot of churches and I will even say that I have fell victim to and had problems with in the past is that you would do things to massage people and not hold up, as the old school say, the bloodstained banner. Mm-hmm. We have begun to conform to the world. Because conforming to the world means you're getting more amens and it's more hype and then it's more people. Sometimes some of the smaller situations are some of the best situations because there ain't no cut card. We're not conforming. We're not doing anything like that at all. It's a fine line that oftentimes we mess around and because we're trying to move the crowd, we'll preach us instead of preaching Jesus. Because we're excited about the response, we'll preach us instead of preaching God.
That's transparent, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what? Immorality and the lack of principles has a very large platform. It's virtual. It's personal. I mean, your admission right there, and I'm not expecting this to be an admission of your own guilt of this, but the fact that you would admit that it happens in the pulpit is very telling and very transparent, and very honest, because it's true. I mean, none of us are stupid enough to believe that all of the preachers, and that's why you don't follow men, you follow God. So, but we know that that's a fact, and we also have to wonder about the motives of some people who go to church looking the way they look. What are they trying to do? What are they trying to say to you? What are they trying to say to so-and-so deacon or this man or that man or whatever? What is the point of it all? But this is a huge spoiler alert because this is a serious show. This is a serious episode. This needs to be dived into for real.
It does. And it's hard to manage, Fred, when you pastor a church as large as, Pastor Staples. I mean, when you're at a church of 50 to 100, it's easier to manage, right? I mean, because I'm in education, right? I work at a large university. I also consult with large universities. And I consult with school districts. One of the challenges that the school district superintendents always share with me is when I worked at a smaller school district, it was easier to manage. Now that I'm in this monolith of a school district, every day it changes and I'm always feeling like I'm, every which way but loose. And I think that's very similar to the church these days. When you have a smaller church, it's a lot easier to manage. But my goodness, when you get into, a church the size of, Dr. Staples, where you're pastoring thousands, it gets tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's overwhelming at times. I mean, just to kind of just lay it out real simple, some of the things that we've actually just done in 2021, because a lot of the churches have been shut down.
Yeah.
Managing this machine, because it's a machine at this point. It's not church as usual. It's not we're going to come in and preach on Sunday morning and go to Sister Johnson's house for dinner because we know every one of the members. No, it don't happen like that. Like it, like down in West Virginia, you know how we lived in Mount Zion and going to those places where we knew everybody in the entire community. And at any given moment, you can find yourself at somebody's house having dinner, having a good time and all of that, but it's not the same church as usual when you've had 76 funerals since January.
Jeez.
Next week, I got a double homicide, the mother and the daughter that was killed by a guy who decided not to pay child support. It's things of that magnitude that you have to deal with, especially when you're pastoring in Washington, D.C., and especially in the hood as well. And then you are a community church. It's things that you have to deal with. I've done 4 babies this year. 4. Under the age of 4. From different scenarios. That's just one side of it. This is just the grief and bereavement side of it. I'm not talking about the now you got to deal with the choir side. Then you got to deal with the laity. Then you got to have women's ministry and men's ministry, and then then we got the problems that we have inside of church oftentimes. Then we got drug abuse and drug addiction. Then you have those returning citizens. I mean, it's a machine that at all given points, at any given time, somebody can call you and you are pulled away to try to handle certain things, and it is hard, Jeff. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's hard for the people that we have. But man, this thing here is rough to try to stay focused in the midst of all of it. Is a mug.
Yeah.
If I do some closing remarks, Jay, I'm gonna jump off here, man.
We out, man. Close us out.
Man, we done went down to the rabbit's hole. And we can stay there all day long talking about stuff, and I don't want to, depress nobody tonight with the weight that we carry doing ministry.
Too late. It's a heavy burden, brother. I'm praying for you all the time, man.
Man, I appreciate it. I need every prayer.
Yeah.
Hey, your mama, your kids, and your wife, everybody pray for me, because man, this thing is rough.
Yeah.
Is the person whom I'm seeking someone like me? Is your energy the same? What are you projecting? What are you putting out there? What are the things that you're pushing out there? What energy? Who are you? Like who are you for real? Are you meeting people and giving them you, or are they meeting the imitation you? I'm gonna be Baptist real quick. You ready, Jay? I'm gonna go whole Baptist theological seminary real fast. First is honesty, then you got to heal, and then I love what Chaz said. You got to bring in a little bit of humor. You got to have some hot shit. Okay, y'all ready? You first got to have honesty, then you have to heal, and then you have to have good hygiene. Honesty, I said that simply because you have to be honest with first yourself, and then you got to be honest with others. You have to be honest with exactly who you are. If you want to give people the false impression of who you are, that's who you always going to attract. Those who are false. Those who are not looking for the real you. They're looking for the false you. If you don't look the same when you go to sleep and when you wake up, I think all of us have probably had that experience. With a whole person on the pillow that okay, never mind. We'll leave that alone. Are those really your color eyes, or that somebody, or did you buy those? I know you own them. I know yours. You own them, and switch out week after week. I mean, let's be real honest about this thing. Yeah. What you put out there is what you're going to attract. If you hang out at the club, that's what you're going to get. Club fellas. Mm-hmm. If you change the way you do things. If your circle is ratchet, oftentimes tell you who you are.
That's true.
I'm just saying, Jay. I mean, and then you have to make sure that you heal. You have to heal from all of those hurt areas. You have to heal from all of those things that we struggle with. All of the neglect and the rejection and the abuse. We have to be able to heal from all of those things before you even try to carry it into a relationship. Mm-hmm. That old school song, Bag Lady.
Yeah, Erykah Badu.
There it is, Bag Lady. You gonna miss your turn. You gonna miss your bus. You gonna miss your man carrying all of that stuff.
Wow.
Because this is a divine connection. There's a divine crossroads, and God has designed it for you to match up with the person that you're supposed to be with at that particular time. But you're moving too slow because you choose not to heal, and you want to hold on to rejection. You want to hold on to abuse. You want to hold on to these things.
That's good.
Which is causing more baggage. So you're carrying too much stuff.
That's right.
And it's causing you to be delayed to your appointed time and your appointed place to meet the one you're supposed to be with.
That's right.
Okay, then it's about hygiene. We got to throw that in there too. You got to throw some hygiene in there.
I agree, bro. Chaz hit it on the head with the hygiene piece, man.
Come on now, Fred.
Got to wash your hands.
There you go. Wash your hands, wear a mask. And but no, it's about hygiene is important.
True.
Hygiene is important. Yeah. Hygiene goes straight along with the thing that I call public appearance. Public appearance and hygiene go hand in hand to me, because you look fly on Saturday night, you look fly on Sunday morning, but go to the grocery store Sunday evening with your flip flops and you know, your pajama pants. You got your do-rag and your bonnet on.
I don't understand the bonnet in the
bonnet, like the whole bonnet, and you at the grocery store and barely don't even have chapstick on. It ain't even Vaseline or nothing. But then you try to attract something, and then complain, well, there's no good men out here. Well, what are you giving? What are you projecting? You look as if your hygiene isn't well. The reason I say that, I know I'm gonna get in a whole lot of trouble right here. It's gonna be a whole problem. I know it's gonna be a whole problem. I'm gonna get emails and everything, Jay, right here. I'm about to get emails. This is my problem right here, and I gotta jump off. If you have the audacity to take your pajama pants and your bonnet and you're going into a public restaurant, a public store, a public facility, and then come back home and get in the same bed with the same pajamas and the same shirt and the same bonnet that you just wore outside. So everything that you have on that you brought outside, that you got on the bus with, that you walked to the grocery store with. Now all of that same stuff is in your bed. That tells me you're dirty. All right.
I'm through.
Hey, look, y'all. We are going to surprise you. We have not released what we just ended the series, part 8, Law of Attraction, on our Am I Worthy of Earth Mission series. It's been phenomenal. You heard from almost 20 gentlemen tonight talking about the Law of Attraction. If you missed it, go back, replay it. It's 2 hours. We promise you will not.
2 days.
you will not be dissatisfied. All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. All right, Pastor Staples.
All I said, guilty.
Peace.
Guilty.
All right.
Y'all be good.